So Zodwa burst out of the door earlier today and screamed at Temba, "I'm going. I'm taking the car and you're never going to see me again." And Temba said, "I believe you. That car has no airbag in it." Hey, good evening. And apologies for being late. So I've been load shed. I've kept my guest waiting for me. I had to run somewhere to get a makeshift studio somewhere. But you know what? We're here. So it's Talk with Rams Live on Facebook and YouTube. And we're also on Instagram. All platforms Talk with Rams. Please join us in the conversation. Tonight is Fame and Fortune, as we do every Monday. We try to bring somebody you know to share their thoughts about money. Not necessarily the fact that they have it. If they have it, it's a bonus. Some of them hide the fact that they have it. I suspect my guest tonight will hide that he has it, but that's another matter for another day. Now, I need to tell you this as you connect and you settle down to join us. He's truly my brother. I have known him for many years. I confess, I was never his radio fan. He was your idol, not mine. But I fell in love with the human being he was. The philanthropist he became, collecting school shoes for children, doing great work out there. And then, damn, he became a public servant. But I'm glad last year, in the last 2 years, he's been doing amazing work with former President Thabo Mbeki and stuff. So he's back at where I think he belongs, doing amazing stuff. But damn, he's got no protocol. This is my brother. What can I say? Lupi Ngcayisa. Good evening, mate.
Wow, what an introduction. I'll take the last part. He's got no protocol. I think that's going to change because, you know, I'm trying to be like everybody else. Everybody is talking branding and rebranding and packaging. So I don't want to be described as a delinquent no more. I'm not going to live my delinquency because I've come to appreciate that it is part of who I am. But I'm just going to concede it just like everybody else. You know how everyone is filtered on Instagram and how everyone is refined and polished and how everyone is living the life. I think that's exactly what I'm going to do insofar as the character and personality is concerned. Please do excuse this crackling sound. It's my dog. It hasn't seen me in a while and it's acting out because it's attention seeking. But yeah, it feels great being here and thank you so much for having me. I honestly feel like I'm such a fraud in that you invite me to talk about fame and money, two things that I know absolutely nothing about because I've never been famous. I've helped people to be famous. I know how to help people to be famous, but I've never been famous myself, and I've never had money. And I've helped people make money. But yeah, so I honestly, as I said on my Twitter feed, that I honestly do not know what we're going to be discussing, given the fact that I know very little about fame and fortune.
Well, I'll tell you what, you'll be shocked because fame and fortune don't necessarily mean that you must have both or either, but you may understand how they relate. And that's why this conversation is important. You make people famous, as you say, and
no, I don't make people famous. I help them to be famous. No one can ever make anyone famous. Well, at least as far as my understanding is concerned. But you know, we can always contribute a bit here and there. I don't want people whom I've worked with to be on side. Now,
you know, those of you who know you, and that's like me who know you, are completely caught by your modesty tonight. But that's fine. I'll live with it for tonight. So, so you know the fact is people know of you. They may not know why they know of you, but they do know of you, and it's a very important thing. If you have to introduce yourself to people, especially those that think they know you, what do you tell them about you?
What would I tell people about me? It matters not what I tell people about me, because ultimately it truly and really is entirely up to the individual what they take and what they make out of someone. It's you would spend the rest of your life, trying to either change perceptions or tell people that you I'm aware that you view me in this light, but actually that's not who I am. But if I were to say who I am, I'm just a guy who is just trying to have as much fun as possible. I can see my son is trying to sneak in. You're the favorite uncle, by the way, because you've extended his bedtime. His bedtime is 19:30. And because of this chat, and the rule is that he doesn't go to bed before I read for him. And now, because I'm chatting to you, he's obviously now milking this moment because it's giving him an extension. So if you don't have fans, you've just won a fan, because he's thrilled and he's just excited that Daddy's up and everyone is up. But back to the question. I'm just a guy who's just trying out this life thing. I'm just a guy who loves to laugh, who loves a good time. I'm just a guy who cares deeply, who cares immensely. I'm just a guy who wears his emotions on his sleeves, hence the tantrums and the outbursts and the extremes. When I am deliriously happy, I'm happy. When I am devastatingly sad, I'm sad, and I express all those modes. But if I were to just sum it up to one, I'm just a guy who lives to express. I enjoy expressing myself, expressing what I'm going through, expressing what I feel. If I love someone, I don't even have to know them. There's just so many people that I've come across on the social media platforms whose work, or rather people who've just inspired me in what way, or have made me feel a particular way just by them being who they are. And I don't mind letting them know how much I love them. So I'm very big on expression. I'm very big on expression, in particular the expression of love. And I carry the message of love and the message of kindness. So if I were to be remembered, or if people were to want to get a sense of who I am, just think of love and think of kindness. And of course, I've got my moments and then I can but otherwise,
you have a lot of those moments. Damn, you have a lot of those moments. I need to warn our followers that tonight is not going to be the normal fame and fortune as you know it, because I want to have a different conversation with Lupi, and I'm being personal. He's my brother, so I'm being slightly personal. Sure. Years ago, you started this project that I fell in love with, where you collected school shoes for school-going kids, of course. Tell me about that project and how much money you raised to distribute shoes, and how much money stayed in your pocket as a result. But I'm sure you pocketed some of it.
We didn't raise any money because there was never an exchange of money, never exchanged hands with us, so to speak. The concept was really inspired by a little girl. I was in Sandton. We had just finished. We were still doing the breakfast show at Metro FM at the time. And it was close to, in fact, it was close to Christmas. No, just after Christmas. And I'd gone to Sandton to get a few items. So as I park, I was still driving there, and I don't drive no more. Lupi don't drive. It's only you peasants who drive. So I parked the car. It was a sponsored vehicle, by the way. So back then, we were sponsored. Back then, we were the people of the soft life. And as I step out of my car, I see this couple. And a youngish couple with their little 6-year-old, 6.5 roundabout there. And they were with another little kid. I could see that the other child is not theirs, even though the kids were of the same age. I mean, you can always tell these things by the way the two children are dressed and how their little one is. But there was just something intriguing about this family. As such, I found myself following them. And I do not know what had gotten into me, but I found myself stalking these people. And they went to the various and different shops and buying all kinds of things for their kids. And on occasion, they would buy something for the other kid as well. But most of the shopping was for the kid that I assumed was theirs. It's only when they went to Woody's And yes, it was towards the end of the year because it was close to my birthday. I think it was the 27th, if not the 28th of December, not the 29th of December, around about there. So already the shops by that time of the year have the school uniform and get to school. It's like, okay, cool. See, in the Christmas was unmanageable to the school. That's the psychology. So now the little girl who has been getting, all these nice, expensive outfits from the different shops, she's now she tries on these little shoes. She puts on her tiny little feet, this pair of school shoes. Now, mind you, this is a privileged kid. I've been following these people up already. I can conclude that these guys are well-to-do, not just only from the way they dress, but the shops that they've gone to shop for themselves and for the little girl. She slips her tiny feet on. Their delight on her face, the sparkle in her eyes, just the joy, which, and having seen her when she was trying on other things, she would smile. But this time around, there was just something different. And at that moment, something said to me, imagine if you could have, and I just thought, imagine if you could have 700 children. No, I'm lying. It could have 900 children because I was thinking with 9 provinces. 900 children experiencing this for the first time, because all children experience wearing a pair of shoes for the first time. I left. I didn't even continue with whatever I was going to do. I left Sandton. I went home. Following day, we're in the studio, and the guys, and I just had the entire day, I was just consumed by this vision of just seeing 900 children smiling. Before you being rude, please go to the lounge. Netta, okay. I'll keep quiet. Which one do you choose? Wonderful. So I get into the studio, we do the show, and I say, the guys want to know what's my plan for my birthday, because I used to celebrate my birthdays in those days, especially if I'm not going to PE, or I'll fly to PE, on the 31st, because I'm my birthday on the 30th of December. I say to the guys, I don't want no birthday gifts. I'm not hosting, I'm not having no party. All I want is for those who wish to help, to contribute, but I just want to collect 900. Now, instead of saying 900, I say I just want to collect 9,000 pairs of school shoes. I remember going on air and saying, oh shit, immediately after I said that. And I said, oh shit, because I had calculated 900. And back then, financially, we were doing pretty well. So even if, because I've also hated the idea of when someone wants to do something, then they want other people, sort of guilt other people to come on board. So I had done my calculations. I was just merely sharing that, hey, 900, because I knew that financially at the time, I was okay. I would be able to buy the 900, it was 900, by the way, yes, 900. I'd done my calculations that I'll be able to buy 900 pairs and send 100 to each province. But I was just sharing on air. And I said, anyone who wants to help, because I had not thought it through. Anyone who wants to help, I had thought through the logistics. I said, here's my number, just SMS me. Boy, oh boy, I had not even finished the link. There's a guy by the name of Tusi. The guy sends a message. He says, no. But now wait, instead of saying 900, remember now I've said 9,000. Then after thinking, where I cannot afford 9,000 pairs. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a big guy. I'm just a guy who's always been to do on radio. I don't have that kind of money. But anyhow, it's out there. My number is there. Gentleman by the name of Truth is the first one to send a text message saying that, hi, I would like to buy a thousand pairs.
That's more than the 900 that was initially in your head before you even take on air.
Says he wants to buy 1,000 pairs. Send me your banking details. And I'm like, no, I can't be taking money. I don't want to take money. So I asked Refilwe Mpakanyan, my colleague. Yeah. I say to the guy, look, let's rather meet where we can go buy the shoes. And also I'm thinking now, where do you buy 1,000 shoes and how do you buy them? Because I have not thought of sizes. I have not thought of, anything. So the guy says, oh, okay, well, let's meet. And I'm thinking, where? And then someone in the studio says, well, maybe you should go to the Oriental Plaza. They would at least have that quantity. I say, okay, cool, fine. The guy then says, okay, let's meet there at 11:15. I say to Refilwe, you meet people at half, or you meet people at 12. So now I'm losing my, people please just, my phone is acting out, and please just switch it off. So Rufino and I then go, and true to form, the guy rocks up in his Mini Cooper at 11:45. Do you know, it was such a short transaction, because by that time we'd identified a shop where you could buy the shoes, and I'd spoken to the shop. And you know how that Oriental Plaza, don't the great just come to service. And also you come in to tell them that you're buying 1,000 pairs of shoes, and they're looking at you like wasting their time, because they're asking me questions, what sizes? And I'm like, I don't know what sizes, this is all new. The guy rocked up, he just walked in, he asked what the bill was, he swiped his card, and he left. Never seen the guy again, never ever spoken to the guy. I can't even look the guy in the face. I don't even know what he looks like, because I never even got the opportunity to know what he looks like. That's just how, it was literally a fleeting moment. And the campaign just grew from there. I mean, by the time I left radio, now we started, this was 2007. By the time I left radio 2009, getting 2010, we'd collected about 310,000 pairs of school shoes. And we had distributed those across the entire country. Challenges with the first year was that I was still living in Killarney at the time. My entire apartment was filled with shoes because people from the entire country, I mean, I'm talking the entire Gauteng province, the entire country. I will never forget a group of domestic workers from Morningside who had gathered, and they had not shared their Stokvel money before Christmas, and they had not gone for holidays. And I'd never forget how on the 31st, they actually called me to say that they've heard about this thing on radio, and they have decided to use, half their money that they've been saving for the rest of the year to buy the shoes. And I had to go get the shoes from them. It was just so moving. And that's just how this whole thing grew. And
on that note, I want us to talk about a conversation you and I had privately, because there is a money lesson in what happened there.
Of course there was.
Beautiful story. People do not understand that actually in that process, you got yourself broke.
I did, because now I remember having to, requests were also coming through now from all parts of it. Got to a point where I had to change that cell number, and I felt so sad, because the number that I had for years and I loved it so much, my 0724932005 number, I feel sorry for the person who inherited the number, because people would still call that person and so you the first few months, because now the shoes have to go out, I spent about 100,000 to deliver the shoes, to get the shoes to where they needed to be, because people were still buying. And I understood the whole concept. I think there was just something so special and something so warm about physically buying the pairs of shoes and asking for them to be collected. And of course, the SABC had come on board, so people would go and drop off at the SABC. We had drop-off points pretty much everywhere, all the SABC. And the SABC was very supportive. The Metro FM management at the time was incredibly supportive. The entire SABC was incredibly supportive of the campaign. Various organizations, various churches. So we had all these drop-off points. But then people will just say, so I spent for the first, going into Jan, Feb, spent about 100,000 now, just getting the stuff out. And much as, yes, I know that when I said I would be able to buy 900 pairs, it's not like it's money. Like I asked you to go outside with my please. Go quickly. Sorry about that. I didn't sort of like, you don't have 100,000 just lying goods from one point to the other. So that, of course, was a lesson learned, that at times you will try and do good. And you trying to do good, you might compromise yourself. And I've done that on numerous occasions. Please get out. I don't understand why you're hiding your phone on you when I've asked you to take the phone out. Yeah. Okay, big boy. Yeah, so money gone because the shoes need to go out. So, and I've been caught up in that cycle, by the way, on numerous occasions where you are trying to reach out and you're trying to help, and you manage to help, but then you end up getting burnt somewhat, and that's all because of poor planning. So it's very important when you give that you be responsible in your giving. and that you don't get, you don't operate from a visceral point. You think things through. Yes, it's great to help, but then think of how you're going to help, because you don't want to find yourself in a situation where me helping you, I'm compromising upalo. Me helping you, having listened to your challenge or your story, puts me in a position where I now cannot pay for Palo's school fees because I've taken Palo's school fees money to come and help you, which is pretty much what I've done most of the time. So I've had to compromise my kids or compromise my family because I'm addressing the need that has just arisen at the moment.
The lessons you draw or you drew from them, I suppose it's the same lessons that you would want to share even with people who start their own businesses, because this program speaks to a lot of people who start their own businesses every day.
Oh, absolutely. Because remember, starting your own business, and as someone who's also tried, getting into business, and I failed quite dismally because I was driven far too much by the heart. And you cannot go into business being driven by the heart. It just doesn't work like that. You've got to be, the heart is irrational by nature. You cannot. And I know it doesn't sound good. And I know that a lot of people struggle with it, because ideally you should go into business doing something that you love, but there's a difference. You've got to understand the science of business. And there's a reason as to why business is being classified as a science. Business is not a hobby. It may start out or it may be inspired by a hobby, but the actual act of business, the nature of business, the life of business is not a hobby. And therefore, you've got to have an appreciation for certain fundamentals. And number one, and I don't want to even make it sound technical or fancy, but you've got to understand money. Because you're going into a space where money is the language, and money is not just only a language, but money has a life of its own. In particular, when now it is it's this currency that you are trading, because business is about money. And I think people like yourselves and people like myself and a whole lot of other people who somewhat care, perhaps maybe slightly more, or rather who are passionate about the improvement of the human condition, often find ourselves stretching ourselves too thin in the realization of whatever dreams or plans and wishes that we have. And we get burned. I look at how a lot of NPOs that are operating, for example, yes, NPOs are not businesses per se, but then someone has to be paid for those services. Because running an NPO is no different than running a business. You do have your overheads that need to be taken care of. And so if you don't have a business plan that backs that, or a plan as to how this is going to be financed, perhaps maybe you should wait. And that's where, I'd like to not necessarily end it, but that's my 2 cents where that is concerned. So no matter how burning the desire to assist, to help, to contribute, to do good, you've got to think of the business. You've got to think that this thing is a business. And if you don't appreciate it, or rather view it as such, you're going to get burned. You're going to get frustrated. And I suppose I see why a lot of people end up actually stealing, or rather, especially those whose businesses are more on the empowerment side, because now I'm not making excuses for thieving. I could never do that, but I think I could understand why people end up doing things that are untoward, because you've got your back against the wall, and everyone is looking at you thinking, but what were you thinking?
Yeah, I hear you. And folks, please don't steal. He's just made it clear he's not making any excuse for stealing.
No.
What is the value? And I'm asking the question in a roundabout way. As we do good, as we build our own careers, as we build our own profiles and stuff, what is the value of investments, especially where whatever you do has a very short lifespan?
There are various types of investments, and all of them are equally important. So there's tremendous value in investing in yourself, first and foremost. What do I mean by investing in yourself? Investing in your development as a person, developing academically, if you can, or just developing just in terms of acquiring knowledge, developing in terms of, please take this out, people. Just put it in the lounge. Boss. Developing academically, developing just socially, developing your networks. There's value in that. There's an investment. You invest in that. You invest in networks. You don't just networks don't just come to you. You go to networks and you become a person of value in those networks. The best way to know how. And then of course there is your investments as we've come to know it, which is the financial side of things, which I suppose becomes a bit of a problem, and it still remains an area of contention for many a Black person who comes from a poor background like myself, where you become the only, in the classic sense of a breadwinner, where the little that you have has to be stretched because it has to take care of a good 18 people. So when someone then comes to you and talk about investing from what? Because the little that I'm earning from either my salary or my side hustles, it's already committed, and it's not commitments that short term. It's commitments that's just kids continue being born at home, and your mother is at home, and she has to see these kids, and she can't exactly deny them affection. But then her extending affection means that food must be provided for, clothes must be provided. So it becomes very difficult to talk investments when you have that. And we can't run away from Black tax because, being the only person who I suppose gets a chance at what we call financial success, then you starting from scratch. There's a home that has to be built with other people. There's extensions that have to be made at home, bedrooms that must be built, a wall that must be up there, and getting rid of those zinc kitchen cabinets and putting proper kitchen cabinets and by the time you wake up that I'm supposed to invest, you're like, oh my gosh, where do I even start? Because everybody else that you started out with, they are just so far ahead and you are just right there at the bottom. I often have these conversations with my friends and they always ask me, what would you have done differently? I wouldn't have done anything differently, but I would advise differently. My daughter, for example, she's her mom also passed away, so she has her maternal grandmother, and her maternal grandmother is rather, one of those independent township women, but she cares a great deal about her grandmother, but she's also very much alive to. She's seen what happened with me, how I devoted my entire life. The first, 15 to 20 years of my life were dedicated and devoted towards building the home and building the family and helping and sending kids to school. Because to me, at the time, the investment was that if I invest in these little guys and send them to school, send them to the best schools, send that one to varsity, provide for this and this, for that, it's a worthwhile investment in terms of, as a family, we would be able to break the family cycle. And guess what? Nothing positive came out of all of that. So all that money, all those investments were thrown down the drain. So when I look at all of that, and if I had diverted that money towards the traditional investment now, investing as in investing in businesses or whatever, I suppose one would be telling a different story right now. I cannot dictate how one should conduct one's life because, of course, our persuasions are different. But what I know for sure right now at the age of 44 is that you've got to look after your money and you've got to learn to say no. You've got to learn to prioritize yourself. Yes, there's pressure to add an extra room. Go high. Why it's again, so long as at home they've got gas, they've got food. Look after yourself first, because once you've looked after yourself, you're in a much better position to provide for them and to provide for them even bigger. We do it the other way around and it doesn't work. So don't be pressured by society. Don't be pressured by Abo Rahadi, Nabo Magaz, Nabo Malume, and don't be pressured by the standard that has been set, that the moment you become successful, you must fix your home. Fix yourself, look after your money, make sure that your money works for you. Because once your money works for you, you are then in a much better position to actually even build a nicer home if that's what you want to do. But that should not be that one thing that you do immediately from your first paycheck or from your first bonus, going to fix things at home. Because you know what? You're going to fix things at home. Go. That's like literally just throwing money in the bottom of the pit. Yeah. Well, it becomes a passion project. It becomes and I know it doesn't sound good because someone's going to say, yeah, but you built your mother-in-law's house. But you know what? She's gone now. And then what? The house is there. I'll never live there. I'll never live there. I know that for sure. So then what?
So we're running out of time, but I'm going to read two comments that are very interesting here. Busi Makanya says, so correct, Lupi. I saw the hype over the weekend about collecting money towards student fees. The company is using their private bank account, yet they are not a registered public benefit organization. Only today I noted they will partner with the disbursement company, but it is actually too late. They will need to account for the income in their books in their audit. Very interesting. And then Lorato Thinking says, I suspect Lupi is talking about me on business person that cares a lot more and wanting to do good. And I know Lorato is that type. He spends his money and everything on other people, and his wife with children and kids are suffering on the side. But as we conclude,
you must stop that nonsense. Focus on yourself. And it's not nice. It's not a nice thing, especially when you come from a good heart. And especially when there have been great people in your life who have impacted on your life and done wonderful things for you. So you feel compelled to give back. But you know what? We're living in difficult times. The economies are going to continue to shrink. So the money that you have today and the money that you're making today, there's no guarantee that you'll be able to make it tomorrow. So the little that you have right now has to work for you. It has to serve you. You've got to be selfish with your money. And by selfish, I don't necessarily mean that you mustn't give, but you've got to be responsible in your giving.
I know that you did a lot of philanthropic work. I know that you worked as a skivvy. People in broadcasting are skivvies. People don't realize that we're just skivvies who have money. But I have to ask you this question. If I don't, people will never watch this show again. Mm-hmm. Over the years that you've done stuff, that you've done projects, that you've been in broadcasting, that you've done events and projects, would you say that you've managed, I don't care where the money went, some of it I know went to the public, but did you manage to amass, a cool $1 million and I don't care where it
No, definitely not. I think I made my first million in 2000 and, when was it?
2012.
No, what do you mean?
Okay.
I made $1 million at some stage, but I've never been able to make another. And I used that to build my mother's house, because I built my mother's house. No, please, my mom does not live in a $1 million house. It's in the township, but spent so much money because we built during the lockdown, when the country was building stadiums for the 2010 FIFA World Cup. It was leading to just before then. I made a lot of money, during my broadcasting days. But I sadly, years later, post that, it's just been about survival. I'm hopeful that one day I will make at least $1 million, maybe in US dollars, from your mouth to God's ears. My mom is now deceased, and I'm hoping that she's gonna get there and just kick some serious ass down there, because she can't just get there and just be a lazy, ancestor. She needs to get cracking, because I need me some good life. I love the good life, and I've lived a good life, by the way, and I'm grateful. But I just need money now to sustain it. I'm sick and tired of having to work for it every day. I'm tired. I started working at the age of 14. I am now 44. I've been working for 30 years. It's not fair. I need the money now.
I wish you had done this.
And I'm not going to steal, because stealing is not my portion.
I wish this was a 1 hour chat. Damn it, we're out of time, Lupi. But thank you very much, mate. And trust me, that woman's going to kick ass there. She owes you one. I know what you did for her. Thank you, my brother, and have a great evening.
Thank you. You too, mate. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
And folks, I shall see you tomorrow on Opportunity Tuesday. From me, Ramsey Pute, good night. And God bless, Paulo.
Good night.
Good night.